good. I really do. And so, you mentioned family, and our families, I think, just had a special connection, a special bond. We basically grew up together.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so, and looking at your posts and looking at all the things through social media, that same love of family you have instilled in your huge, wonderful family. Who would ever thought you would have 6 kids, right? And even though you came from a large family yourself.
Right.
So please talk to us a little bit about the cultivating of that, because your family is absolutely beautiful. I always liken you to my dear cousin Serena with her 5 kids. I was like, y'all just had to, outdo everybody. So talk a little bit about that cultivation of family.
Yeah, that's very important. And like I said earlier, it all stems from that. That's where we get who we are from the very beginning. It starts with our families. And so what I found in raising my children and having my family is that it's important to make sure that they understand that we are a unit. We are a team, right? Just like my children are very athletic. My husband is a coach. So sometimes the only way that they would listen to me is if I would talk in athletics or team jargon, right?
Funny.
So this is a team, and we have to operate as a team. So whatever's going on outside of the home, whatever my children growing up, they used to love to say, well, my friend does so-and-so, or my friend has so-and-so. And I would always say, well, your friend doesn't live here, and they're your friend's mother. And of course, they wouldn't like that. But now that they are all adults, they understand the importance of supporting one another. Everything that they did in school, it wasn't just me and their dad there. We took all of their siblings, because I needed them to understand that it is important that each of you know that when you get out in the world, you've got to have a good support system. And understanding each other and where you've come through, what you've come through, and what you're going through, and having someone that you can fall back on. And, it is always, to me, it's always important to make sure that I am preaching to them or teaching to them, even in their adult life, that we have to support one another. You're going to have enough negativity that you will face in the world. So you have to have a safe place that you can come to, a safe ear, someone that will listen, that they won't judge, that they won't tell you what you might want to hear, but they're going to tell you what you need to hear. And so cultivating that family is just that, understanding that this is a team and we're going to work together. We all go through challenges in life. We all are faced with difficult times where we have to make difficult decisions, but understanding and knowing that you have that fallback is always good, I think.
Yes, that is true. That's so wonderful. I don't know if you saw me. I'm over here cracking up because that is so true. I was raised up in a house. I'd be like, but Mom, my friends are doing, but Mom, my friends. And she was like, that's your friends. But in this household where you live, we're going to do this. And, and that's it's right. About planting them seeds, because yes. When you grow up and become an adult, that's what you rely on. That's what you just gravitate to and go back to. And then it just naturally in your DNA and become a part of you. And you share that with the world, just showing, like you said, it's a good support system, learning how to do teamwork, building great relationships, going out in the community, and just also being able to give back and continue to build them relationships. And with that being said, I just wanted to mention that you're still doing that. You're still practicing. And that's what it was in our family, is practicing what you preach, as they used to say in the South. You got to practice what you preach and lead by example. And so you are doing that just now because you're taking time out to do the show with us, but you're still doing the great work in the community. You're out there giving back in the community today. You're doing a food drive. And for me, it just has been just a wonderful thing to do, even in this time. So I just wanted to just ask you this question. I know it has been for me. I work in the community a lot as well. And the first time I went back out to do the food drive and give the giveaways, I got really emotional and teary-eyed because during the pandemic, I do this all the time, but now during the pandemic, people are just showing so much grace and just, kindness. Even when they're coming up, they are so thankful and so grateful that, people are still just coming out, looking out for each other. I just remember the lady was like, thank you all so much. Can I have an extra meal for my grandmother? It just brought me to tears, and I still get teary-eyed when I talk about it because it's just wonderful to see that even though we're in the midst of this, that we are still showing kindness and great. So my community service now and going out in the community is at a different level now. I just really appreciate where we are. So have you seen that new kind of just spiritual and humbleness and humility from people during the pandemic and while you're doing your community outreach?
Absolutely. I have seen that. And I have to tell you, our communities are hurting.
Yes.
It is so much. First the COVID-19, the pandemic, and we know that the race relations, the injustices, the inequalities haven't just started, but it has heightened somewhat during this pandemic. I believe because of the pandemic, it has caused it to come to the forefront, right? It's caused it to be seen with a different lens. And so during this time, I have seen as we continue to encourage each other to get out there. And if you have, go ahead and give back and do. And people are just, yes, very grateful and thankful for everything that's been done.
That's awesome. So you and Stephen actually have an organization, Run Fast Incorporated. And it sounds very athletic. So I know that your family is, very athletic. So please tell us a little more about Run Fast.
Yes. So Run Fast was birthed out of my husband. He has a desire also to minister to young people in the form of athletics. So anybody that talks to him, he says, that's my ministry. And that's what I was called to do. So a few years ago, probably about 5 years now, I believe it is, we moved into this community where there are many low socioeconomic areas in this community. And my husband is a teacher as well. He's an educator. So many of the students in this community, he was able to have in the classroom and witness and view firsthand the socioeconomic, the low areas of the families in the area. So he wanted to make opportunities available for the athletes in this area. Those students who are athletes. So give them an understanding of how organized sports work, what that instills in them. So organized sports can give to a young person focus, dependability, discipline, all of those things that are important for a young person to have as they are learning to navigate through society and they're growing up in their community. So that's one thing that and learning to work with a team. So learning to depend on one another in a team. And all of those things, if you realize them, all of those things can impact the home as well. Again, going back to if this is a team, learning how to rely on one another. If someone is responsible for something, then we're going to rely on that person for that piece of the puzzle, right? To make sure that the whole comes together. And so his idea of Run Fast, he wanted to make sure that the students had an opportunity to participate in organized sports outside of school. So to keep them busy, to keep them athletic, to keep them active. And then also in the summer for students who do not have the financial resources to take part in maybe the traveling teams, the traveling track and field teams, the traveling football teams and things of that nature. So just wanting to provide that opportunity for students to come together, to young people to come together and just learn how to operate in a team setting. And so Run Fast is, like I said, it was birthed from my husband. It actually stands for something, and I wish I had that written down, but that is pretty long.
That's
but
okay.
again, it is an organization that is in this area to help students come together, learn how to operate together in a team environment, learning inspiration, learning to inspire others, encourage others, as well as compete.
I love it. I love it. And see, I'm the sports head over here, so I'm going to have a follow-up question to that. I just love the sports, and that is so true, because I don't know if you read the book Serena Williams, and she wrote this collaboration, and she had different authors in there, and I was just so amazed. She even had our former president Bill Clinton in there. She had Denzel Washington, and that was the whole base of the book. They always talking about how sports has helped discipline their lives, and that we need that, because all the things that you said, when it's a team sport, you learn how to work together as a team. You learn how to even get through adversity, because you're not always going to win. Or whatever you're competing in, you're not always going to win. So you got to learn how to be able to still take that defeat and not, and still grow in that. So sports can definitely be a very much beneficial, and especially when you use it in an undeserved community, because it's showing them how to work together, teamwork together. Like you said, that they still have a place of belonging, a sense of value there. And it's really big and needed. So with that being said, with the sports, what do you see coming out of that? What is one of the main things that you want to accomplish from your organization, or your husband want to accomplish? Because we know we want them to have strength, be disciplined, know how to teamwork. But for me, I still see that spiritual grounding in it. So
absolutely,
yes, when I see this coming together and we're doing it in a community base as such, I would like to see the spirituality that come out of it, because you'd be so surprised how it's so in there. It's in there. And to see the spirituality come from that, and you would think sports and spirituality, how do that work? Especially now, being in the professional world, how at first, if one of the football players, quarterback, he used to get raved at because he always wanted to kneel and pray before he go out on the field, so now if we looking at things like this in a different light. So is that a part of your program as well? Have you seen the spirituality side of the kids?
Absolutely. That now Run Fast, let me tell you, is definitely not just about the young people competing. It is about them being inspired to be great, right? It is about them looking outside of themselves to be great. We definitely include the spiritual aspect, because that is our foundation as well. Our faith is very important to us. And so Run Fast comes out of that foundation of inspiring based on biblical principles, so that the young people can see that they have to look outside of themselves for the encouragement, for the motivation, for that higher calling that they really need to depend on, as opposed to just depending on themselves or their families. And so absolutely, the spiritual aspect is very important. We use Run Fast to inspire not just the children, but the parents as well. You may know, being in a part of, or being connected to a low socioeconomic part of the community, oftentimes the parents are not in a good, should I say, headspace, spiritually, emotionally, financially, of course. And so it really is to show the families. Many of the kids come from single parent homes, where the parent is really striving to do all they can to keep maintain life, I guess I should say, for them and their children. And so oftentimes the spiritual aspect will fall to the wayside because they are just trying to maintain and get their child through. And so we like to take on that responsibility in the community and let them see, a husband and wife working together. With sometimes we have our kids out there, although they are off and doing their own thing,